obviously Marcus Smart being flipped for
that
Porzingis.
That is a brutal Boston accent.
No, is that okay?
Brutal Boston accent.
Marcus Smart. I mean,
it's the greatest name in Boston sports history.
Right. Well, as opposed to Nomar.
It's close. I thought about that as someone from Boston.
Yeah,
like,
it's close.
Like Nomar is, and it's going to come out of me. Like I've gotten rid of it over the years.
It's okay.
Nomar was phenomenal. That Saturday Night Live skit where it's Seth Meyers and Derek Jeter, and it's point counterpoint of Jeter sucks and no I don't, where Seth Meyers yells Nomar into his ear over and over again is phenomenal. I would think Nomar has the best. Yeah. That's the best Boston-based name.
Well, again, you sound like my wife. Anytime I try to do the Boston accent, she says exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
So Marcus Smart,
yes,
to flip him for Porzingis and then get Jrue Holiday to take Smart's place sounds like a stroke to me. What do you think about the Celtics roster?
So the Celtics perimeter players are elite, right? Like the move to get Jrue Holiday, you pair him with Derek White in the backcourt. That is now arguably the best defensive backcourt in the NBA and a complete backcourt. Guys that can do a lot of different things. Organically, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to be better players this year. Tatum, I think, is going to be a top 5 MVP candidate. Jaylen Brown was second team All-NBA last year. He has a chance to be first team this year after getting his contract and getting all that resolved. What worries me about the Celtics is the front line. They've got 2 guys that are strong. You've got Kristaps Porzingis coming off perhaps the best season of his career, and Al Horford, who has been remarkably consistent when he wears a Boston uniform. When he has other uniforms, he's a little bit different, but when he wears a Celtics uniform, he's really good. My problem is that they don't have anything behind those guys right now. They pick up Wenyen Gabriel, a couple of weeks ago, and Wenyen Gabriel is kind of the prototype for being regular season playable. He played 68 games for the Lakers last year.
Yeah.
He played 10 in the playoffs, averaged 3 minutes per game in the playoffs. That's the definition of a guy who can play in the regular season but can't play in the postseason. You have Horford, who's 37 years old. You have Porzingis, who has been chronically injured throughout the course of his career. If one of those guys goes down with an injury, and that's not, outside the realm of possibility, they don't have anybody they can turn to right now with that front line. So for me to believe the Celtics are truly the top team, not just in the East, but the entire NBA, I think there's one more move that needs to be made that adds a big man to that front line.
Okay.
What's the move?
Well, they've still got, and forgive me if I'm screwing this up a little bit, they've still got, I think, a $6 million trade exception that they got with the Grant Williams deal. And they still have some draft capital that they can move. I don't know who's out there right now that they can fit into that box, but I think before the trade deadline, they've got to get somebody there because, like Porzingis, I love his talent. I've watched him in the preseason, not as closely as you have because you're kind of a psycho with that, but I've watched him in the preseason.
I'm excited.
And look, he's really good, and he fits into what the Celtics want to do. But, and I've said this and I've written this, my concern with Porzingis coming off last season was he was effectively in a contract year. He was playing for a new deal last season with the Wizards. He was, at times, the number 1 option with that team, and at worst, number 2 when Bradley Beal was out there on the floor. With the Celtics, he is going to be, at best, the 3rd option. How does he adjust to that role? Is he going to be comfortable kind of camping out in different spots in the corner, not being a focal point of the offense? That's my big concern with Porzingis. If they get the same guy from last year, great deal, brilliant. They absolutely killed that trade. But I need to see it over the course of the regular season to believe it.
Can he be that consistent rim protector that Boston hasn't had in the playoffs the last few years?
I think he is a very good rim protector. I do worry about him if they decide to play minutes with Porzingis and Al Horford. The idea of Porzingis defending the perimeter is a little worrisome for me. But as far as rim protection goes, I mean, the guy's 7'3". We've seen in the preseason he has been pretty good in that respect. So yeah, I think he can be that guy in the middle. And I think you'll see Boston stagger the minutes of Porzingis and Horford. Whether it's Porzingis starting or Horford starting, and one of those guys coming off the bench. I don't think you'll see too much of Porzingis and Horford on the floor together. But Al's probably, you got to count Al for like 50 to 60 games at most during the season because he is 37. He's going to be 38 in the playoffs next year. You want him to be as fresh as humanly possible, and that depth or lack thereof, that does worry me.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.